Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Front Row Cinema, a movie podcast for movie lovers by movie lovers. I am your host, TJ Trimboli, and with me, as always, is my co host, the mayor of Whoville himself, Mr. James O'Reilly.
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
It's going. And each week, as always, we run down a movie from my 1,000 movies I've seen in theaters, and we see how well it's aged, along with the hype surrounding the film, its box office analysis, and legacy in the film industry. And we've got another jam for you guys here tonight. Jim, what are we watching?
This movie, man, the 2000 version of How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
That is right. We're pulling out the Blu-ray copy, and we're going right to the liner notes on the back for this beautiful description of this 2000s Christmas film.
Oh, I like this.
Oh, yeah, I thought you would. So, discover the true meaning of the holiday season with the live action adaptation of the beloved classic Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, starring Jim Carrey as the Grinch, directed by Ron Howard, as they reimagine one of the most enduring holiday stories of all time. Why is the Grinch such a grouch? No one seems to know until little Cindy Lou Who takes matters into her own hands and turns both Whoville and the Grinch's world upside down, inside out, and funny side up. Filled with dazzling scenery, special effects,
Oh my
makeup, and
God.
costumes, this is an adventure that can make your heart grow 3 sizes if you're not laughing too hard. What a description there from the Blu-ray copy there. Jim, would you agree with that assessment right there? Did it turn your world upside down, inside out, and funny side up?
Man, why would anyone ever say that?
I know,
That's
right?
so horrible.
Also, like funny side up is a play on like I'm getting like the way you can serve eggs, but
Like
like
eggs, yeah,
yeah,
sunny side up. It's just a
yeah.
really terrible pun.
But like I guess it would make sense if like there was anything to do with eggs in this movie, but like where does the pun come into play with a movie that has nothing to do like maybe for
It
chicken
doesn't. Of course it
exactly
doesn't.
like maybe for the liner notes of Chicken Run, you could make that joke.
Yeah, whoa, okay, yeah, now you're onto something.
See, now I got it there. I don't know so much though for the Grinch.
Accurate description, I suppose, either way.
That absolutely, it absolutely is. But as always, we love to dive into our memories of watching these great movies from yesteryear. Jim, do you have a memory of seeing this movie? I'm gonna guess we're gonna go along with the usual term here, in that you probably didn't see this movie in theaters. But did you see it as a kid?
I I don't remember if I saw it in theaters or not. But I definitely watched it pretty shortly after it came out. I remember not really liking it and not really remembering too much about it, other than that one cool sequence where they flash back.
So this wasn't a Christmas rotation movie for you, as all the Christmases have gone by.
No, no, definitely not.
Oh boy, oh boy. Well,
What
for
about
me,
you? Is this in your rotation?
this is in my rotation. This is a movie
Wow,
that I
every
do
year?
not every year, but more often than not, I've put it on around Christmas time. This is just a feel good Christmas movie for me, and it probably does help that I saw it as a kid. I did go see this in theaters. This was another birthday movie for me. I know we talked about I think the Rugrats was the last birthday movie that we had here on
Oh
the pod.
yeah.
Yeah, so this was another birthday movie for me, which totally tracks. When I was a kid, Jim Carrey was my favorite actor of all time, probably most people's favorite actor when they were kids and into the comedy movies back then. I could recite Ace Ventura line by line. I was able to recite most of this movie line by line. Even today, when we not today when I watched it, but when I watched this with Heather, she would have to keep telling me to shut up because I would say the Grinch's lines before he would say them.
Oh yeah,
And
so you've seen this a lot.
yeah, yeah. So I watched this a lot as a kid. I don't throw it in the rotation so much anymore as an adult. But
Okay.
as a kid, I used this movie was on religiously for me.
Yeah. So what was the first time you saw it in theaters, obviously? Who did you go with?
I don't remember honestly off the top of my head, but with it being a birthday movie and around then, I'm sure it was probably like Jackie, Big Rob, Zach. It was probably like the Thanksgiving family birthday movie. Since my birthday sometimes does end up being on Thanksgiving, so I'm sure this was the Thanksgiving watch for all of us that weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you were the target audience, right?
Yeah, this was right up my Jim Carrey Christmas. I love the original like short film cartoon.
Well, no,
So
I mean you and your parents and your brother around Thanksgiving. You were the
oh
target
yeah.
audience.
Yeah. Like you want to get those families releasing this around
That's
Thanksgiving
why
time.
they
So
release it when they release it, and that's why it holds so strong over its first couple of weeks. And yeah, you were the mark.
yeah, they got me hook, line, and sinker. I must have saw that trailer and was just like, round up the family. We're going to the movies. Yeah, so you just mentioned it, how it had that staying power at the box office. So why don't you dig into me, Jim? Let me hear some of those good juicy box office numbers.
All right. So this came out November 17th, the weekend before Thanksgiving, and it opened to 55.1 million. It beat out
It's pretty good.
Rugrats in Paris, the sequel to one of our earlier movies.
Really? Wow. So they were so for the first birthday, Rugrats were able to get me, but they were no power for the Grinch this time around.
Yeah, probably because the first Rugrats sucked. So it opened to 55.1 million. It beat Rugrats in Paris by like $30 million. Rugrats opened to 22.7.
Wow. Yeah, so not even close.
Yeah, and
Although
then we
that's still pretty good for them for opening. That's a good weekend at the box office for moviegoers right there.
yeah, no, I mean that's probably a success for Rugrats in Paris in the year 2000, definitely.
Oh, absolutely.
So we talked about this a little bit. It's released before Thanksgiving, so going into that Thanksgiving weekend, it rakes in another 52.1 million. Stays on top, and it beats this week. It beats Unbreakable.
What a weird Thanksgiving movie. They always do that sometimes where they try to get that like counter programming where they're like, all right, well, you got the families, but maybe like the college kids want to see something else. Like, let's give them
Right.
Unbreakable.
Where those people who are going to the movies that aren't going to see The Grinch, what are they going to see?
Yeah.
Unbreakable, great movie by the way. That came in at 30 million.
It's a good weekend at the box office.
Yeah, the following week those two stay on top. Grinch pulls in another 28 million, 27 million.
It's a good 3 weekends for them so far. This movie did
The
business.
following week, and I think I'm only going this deep because in this week there's another absolutely classic movie. The
Okay.
following week it stays number 1. Unbreakable drops down to 4, and coming in second place, Vertical Limit.
Oh, dude. You know how much
Maybe my
I
favorite climbing movie.
Dude, I was gonna say, you know how much I love Vertical Limit. Wow, dude, a Vertical Limit drop in December.
Yeah. And that is the end of the Grinch's run at number 1. The
So it held number
following
one though
week,
for 4 weekends.
yeah, 4
That's big.
weekends. Yeah.
That's huge.
Through the holidays
Yeah,
too.
through the
Like
holidays.
like that big chunk of Christmas between that Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah, so that's huge right there. You don't see
So
not many movies get 4 weekends, so that's big for
yeah, and it loses it in week 5. It comes in third, losing to the Mel Gibson vehicle What Women Want. Do you
that's
remember that movie?
yeah, that's a holiday movie right there. Get the
Is
family
it? I
out.
don't remember if it took place during the holidays.
No, I don't think it takes place during the holidays, but it's like a kitschy rom-com. So like that's
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
yeah, get the date night out for.
And just edging it out that week, coming in second, Dude, Where's My Car?
Okay. All right. That's an
Yeah,
interesting
so
set of movies for the 2000 Christmas season.
that's a little snapshot into its box office run at number 1, and then it finishes with 260 million domestic, 85.1 million international, for a grand total of 345.1 million.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. And I get it's interesting when you look at these a lot of times too, where you see like which movies are definitely much more of like an American institution because it couldn't even break 100 mil internationally. You see that you usually see it the opposite, where a huge chunk of a movie's business is done internationally as opposed to domestic. But
Yeah,
here,
was that as much of a thing back then though? I don't remember from some of the movies we did, but I feel like the worldwide market wasn't that big until China became like a huge place.
no, it's definitely become more of a thing today. But we've been seeing it as we've been going over these episodes, especially with the bigger movies that have been coming out, that it's either been pretty evenly placed or international usually has been bringing in more, especially when you look at movies like Titanic and Star Wars and stuff like that. I think
Interesting.
this is one of the first ones I think we've come across where the huge chunk of it was domestic.
Interesting. Yeah, so I think what I'm realizing right now is that we probably need to keep a running list of where these movies rank against each other.
Box office wise, you mean?
Just yeah, box office wise. Just obviously we're already doing the very questionable ratings. But box office wise, I think it'd be cool to keep track of them, just so we can kind of see what these trends are as we go across, because we
Yeah.
will be going pretty chronologically. We're gonna get to a point where we're not skipping too much time, right? We're gonna be going basically every week at some point.
Yeah, by the time once we get to when, you and me started going to the movies every week with the guys, 2004, we're pretty much going to be going week over week at that point.
Yeah, so we'll have to get that list together just so we
Yeah.
can provide some context in future episodes.
Yeah, because then that's when we're gonna get into the real nitty-gritty of that sweet box office that we love to talk so much about.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but this movie, it was pretty commercially successful, as you could see from there. It ended up being nominated for 3 Academy Awards, which was something that I'd completely forgotten about, that this movie is technically an Academy Award nominated, actually an Academy Award winning movie, because it won one of
Ooh,
its
what did it win
awards.
for?
Yeah, so it was nominated for Best Art Direction, Best Costume Design, and Best Makeup. If you had to take a guess, having seen the movie, which award do you think it won?
Oh man, that's tough.
Because of
Um,
everything, these are 3 deserving nominations right there.
I'm gonna go with makeup, just on the strength of the Jim Carrey costume alone.
You would be correct. It did win best makeup. But looking at it, I can easily say worthy nominations here for all 3 of those, because that is a huge pro in this movie's favor, is just the absolute stellar set design and practical effects work here in this movie when it comes to the art direction and costume and all the makeup.
Yeah, you know what? You know who this movie reminded me of?
What?
What director this movie reminded me of?
What?
It felt very Tim Burton to me,
Ooh, I can see
in
that.
in a weird way. Like not totally Tim Burton, but the whole idea of the sets in Whoville are very weird and almost gothic,
Yeah.
like, and especially the Grinch's house up on the mountain fits in. The lighting is very weird in this movie. It's dark a lot of the time. Um, and yeah, like the Grinch itself is very weird and almost horror in a kind of way. Um, so I don't know. It reminded me of Tim Burton a lot, which is about as much high praise as I can give something.
Yeah. Well, I
So
wonder, maybe it might have been a sense where like maybe they had the like Tim Burton's influences and maybe Ron Howard's influences on this particular movie maybe aligned with how they like because I know Tim Burton's like a big huge like German expressionism like fan from like those types
sure, I
of
don't even
movies.
know what that
From
is.
like I don't know much about it either, but I was watching a video on YouTube way back in the day of somebody who was like a huge fan of horror movies from back then, and he talks about the set design that they would use for those movies where things would be, crooked or out of shape to like give this disorienting
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah,
And that's definitely something that you do see a lot in Tim Burton's movies. And I wonder if Ron Howard was also using that because, like, whenever you would read a Dr. Seuss book or anything, it was all about that same kind of incongruent line work where it was never quite straight. It was always kind of like weird to give it that kind of like fanciful work to it. I
yeah.
don't
No, I see what
know.
I see what you're saying. Like those two things connect together pretty well.
Yeah.
That
And like,
this like and now that I think about it, the art in Seuss definitely matches the Grinch, which obviously, right?
yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. So that just yeah, I think those two things really reminded me of Tim Burton. Which
I can
again,
definitely.
I think puts it on a level that most of these kind of family Christmassy movies aren't necessarily on in terms of what I'm watching visually.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely when it
And
comes to the design of the Grinch too, because like it is funny how like even though it is a lighthearted movie to it, there is this like grotesqueness about it at the same time. Like when you're watching him, because you're just like, he does kind of like gross you the fuck out, like while you're watching him a
Yeah.
lot of
I
times. Like
mean,
he's
the
got the weird beer belly, like the gross
yeah,
teeth. Like they did
yes.
an absolute stellar job with the makeup here.
The way he gets back to his apartment is he gets through a garbage chute.
Yeah, a garbage chute that makes zero sense that he manages to like slide up.
I think the idea is the Who's are propelling garbage at his house. I think that was the whole point. So he's able
What
to use that to travel. I don't know.
what do they just got wind turbines going in there that's just
I
propelling
guess. I
garbage
don't
up a
know.
mountain?
I don't know.
I would
It's a
love
good
to get
question.
I would love to get with the city planners of Whoville and really get into the nitty gritty of
Yeah.
how they designed their city inside of a snowflake to work so whimsically.
Those materialistic jerks.
Yeah, how dare they? But going along, continuing in with our theme of how good this makeup was here in this movie, one of the things that I had read about that I was absolutely confounded me, and I don't know how he managed to make it through this. But the application process for Jim Carrey to become the Grinch said that he would be in the chair before they'd even film anything for sometimes up to like 6 hours to get all that stuff applied to him. And
Jesus.
yeah, apparently, like it was so awful at times and so brutal to go through that they had to bring in trained SEALs to teach Jim Carrey torture methods, like how to stay calm while being tortured, so that
My
he could
God.
get through the process of like having this put on him and then being in it all day and everything. And I was sitting there reading
Like,
that and I was like, what? What?
Jim, you could just make Liar Liar too. It's okay.
Yeah, but dude, like talk about not
That's such
getting
a yeah, that's such an insane amount to
same
go
thing,
through.
right?
I
Like,
guess what's the idea? You have to just sit still for 6 hours?
yeah, and there's probably like to graft some of that stuff onto your face, like you probably have to like be so precise about it. Like I wonder too, because you see when they do like those face models where like you have to have your whole face covered in plaster and you can only breathe through like a straw that's in your
Oh
mouth.
my God.
Yeah, dude, have you never seen like people have to do this? Dude, I've watched videos of it and my claustrophobia, I get claustrophobic just watching like the video of them going through
Yeah,
this.
that's nuts.
Yeah. And if you mess
It's
it
so
up and like
6 hours.
yeah, and if you mess it up and have to like get out of like the plaster work or whatever, you have to start the whole thing over again.
Yeah, right, right. You're like you're in there for a reason.
Yeah, dude, it's absolutely insane. And then you like so that's one of the things I don't know if I ever see it often when people talk about this movie or when I see people like kind of crap on this. And especially in regards to his performances, I don't think he gets enough credit just for the ability to go through all that to just bring you guys some form of entertainment. Like that's
Yeah.
so insane to me.
Yeah, and I mean it's definitely a career move too, right? This is a pretty big deal, the adaptation of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. So I get
Oh
it's like
yeah.
I get why he would want to sacrifice for that. That's a big part.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And especially like this is the first time, they've ever brought Dr. Seuss to the screen like this and everything. So like they were probably like really hyping themselves up to do this right and really go the full distance to get the most out of it.
Yeah, and I think like I watched an interview with Ron Howard and Charlie Rose where Ron Howard's basically talks about how Jim Carrey is what gets the movie over the top. So it's like this movie maybe doesn't get made without Jim Carrey. So yeah, he's sacrificing a lot just for us to get to watch it.
Oh no, this movie absolutely without him doesn't get made because I don't think there is any other actor at that time when this was getting made that can really pull off what he does in this movie without it being a
Yeah.
completely different type of movie.
Yeah, exactly. It loses what it is if it's not Jim Carrey because
Yeah,
he is the king of that real physical brand of comedy
exactly.
at this point in time anyway.
Like that first scene when we meet the Grinch and they do the perfect buildup where like we see him, but you don't see his face and you just hear him talking and grumbling. And he
Yeah.
walks out onto the mountain. He's like, they want to spend a little quality time with the Grinch. And then he turns around and he makes that ridiculous face. And that's a complete face that only Jim Carrey can do, like just
Yeah.
organically with his like anyone else, and they would have had to do that in post, like to get that
Absolutely.
line work.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
So like Ron Howard probably
Yeah, and
shot
that's
that.
you're talking that's the part when the teenagers are going up to the Grinch's house.
Yeah, yeah, right in the back, right in the beginning, when they go up and the one girl's just like, "Touch it, Stu. Do it for me."
Yeah.
Dude, and that's I mean, obviously we're diving in now. And that's I think the biggest thing that I when I was watching this that I was like, I can't wait to talk about this to Jim with. I did not realize when I was a kid watching this movie just how fucking horny this movie is.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a big part of it in some points, yeah.
Like Martha Mayhew is so goddamn horny for the Grinch this entire movie. It's
Seriously.
unreal.
Seriously. The second she sees him, her eyes are just screaming it, you know?
There's so many parts that I'm watching this and I was just like, it is amazing what you can get past censors for kids movies. Like you just we go into that great flashback with like young Grinch and he looks over at Martha Mayhew and she's just staring at him licking a lollipop, like seductively staring at him licking it. And it's like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and he's making these crazy faces back to her where he's so into it.
Yeah. And then he just like walks up to her and says nothing. And she's like, I've always loved Christmas. All the colors, the red and the green, and then like rubs his cheek. It's like,
Yeah.
dude,
Yeah.
this movie is so horny.
Yeah, it's another thing Ron Howard talked about too, where they were like it was a very conscious decision to try and lean into a more adult kind of audience.
Oh, and I think in a movie like this, you have to because the best family movies always manage to toe that line where there's, the pretty imagery and fun like young jokes for kids, but then there's also a bunch of adult jokes that will go over their heads for the parents that have to take these kids. So
Yeah, and
you
I
really
mean,
toe that line.
who would you guess they're really after when they make a movie this, as you put it, horny? You're after teenagers, man.
Yeah, those young
You're getting
precocious
you're right.
teens.
You're getting the family movie that hits all the boxes, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it is
Where now
absolutely.
now mom and dad are buying 6 tickets to that movie because you got a teenager coming. A couple teenagers are coming
Yeah.
along.
Now the teenagers like maybe I won't go see Unbreakable. Like I hear there's a scene where there's two old grandmas that throw a swingers party.
Yeah. Oh my god, I forgot about that part.
Like
Yeah,
the
when they're
baby.
going around collecting everybody's keys.
Yeah, they're just throwing it in the bowl. And it's like, oh my God, like this movie is so goddamn horny. It's hilarious. I love it. But what about you, Jim? I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on this movie because this is one that I don't know if we're going to align on, considering I had it from me so much as a kid, and you're pretty much watching this, discovering it through a new lens as an adult here. So I'm very curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean we've gotten into it a little bit, right? Where it's very weird, which for me is generally a good thing. I tend to really enjoy weird movies, so when you have all these allusions to swingers parties and elementary school crushes and everything's also set in this whimsical place with this green monster, that's already check 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 in my book, you know. I also love how terrible the Who's are. Like they do a great job of making me relate to the Grinch because for the first, I don't know, probably 45 minutes of this movie, every Who that I see, I want to punch them in the face. They're all awful. I hate every single one of them. I can't imagine that that's not on purpose. You know, that's definitely a conscious decision. I feel like because I'm rooting for the Grinch pretty early on. You know.
It's definitely, I feel like by design, because you feel it right off the bat that this movie feels like while they want it to be this, like fun, whimsical tale about Christmas, it's also like this big punching bag against commercialism at the same time. Like that whole opening where we're coming in on the Who's and they're just going nuts about fucking Christmas. And it's you just see them at their absolute worst. Like the one guy's outside and he's like, for the next 5 minutes, 99% off. And they all just go like batshit crazy, like knocking each other over.
Yeah,
Like
and that
throwing yeah.
right, and that's a Christmas movie trope, right? That's in a like materialism being bad is a pretty central theme of a lot of Christmas movies. What I like about this movie is that it cranks that up to like 13. You know what I mean? It's so over the top. And it makes all of them so hateable. By like 10 minutes in, I'm rooting for somebody to steal Christmas. I'm just like, come on, somebody get rid of all this stuff.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely very well done in its framework here for the movie and getting you to just be fully on board with all of the Grinch's antics in this movie. And it
Yeah.
very much I would be very interested to read the draft of this movie before they started shooting it, because a lot of this movie feels like they got to set, they just let Jim Carrey riff and they were like, put it in the can. Because like especially when like he comes
Yeah.
into the first time to just raise some hell and like just pull off childish antics, it very much just feels like they just were like, all right, Jim, like walk down the street and like do something silly. And like just started riffing.
Yeah, and Ron Howard talks about that too in the interview, where he basically says exactly that, where maybe not the whole movie's riffing, but he says when you're the star of your movie is Jim Carrey, you're just kind of keeping the cameras rolling and making sure when he does something that's amazing, you just have it on film, you know?
Yeah, I saw one of those also where in the scene where Jim Carrey puts on the director's hat and he's like directing the dog
Yeah,
on
yeah, and
how
he's wearing the
on how
Ron
to be
Howard ball
Rudolph.
cap, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that he was basically just riffing on Ron Howard and Ron Howard just loved it. So he was just like, that's staying in the movie. So it's like I would
Yeah,
love to see
yeah.
how many of those are just sprinkled throughout this movie as opposed to what the shooting script was. Because I'm sure there's just a plethora of them.
Oh yeah, I bet there's a ton. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the classic Jim Carrey lines, I would be pretty sure that they're ad libbed.
Oh yeah, he's just got so many good ones every time you meet him.
Like
And it
like when he's debating whether he should go to the Whobilation, and he's like, "But what will I wear?"
yeah, yeah, he's so good. And everything about that is so funny. And all the just like mannerisms that he puts in to those performances. And I love that like for how they make the Grinch, like it's easy in the animated cartoon to not really like you're not really diving into the Grinch in like a 15-minute cartoon, but like in this instance where like we really have to dive into like why is this Grinch like such like a pain in the ass and like a bully, and they made it where like he's really just like this kid that had to grow up alone and he's just like a childish idiot. Like it's
Yeah,
not that like he's like actually mean. It's just that he's like hasn't been in society because he's been
right.
ostracized and feels alone.
Would I
So like
would
it's
I dare
exactly
say it's Arrested Development?
that would be very fair.
That leads right into something else I really loved about this movie. The relationship between the Grinch and Cindy Lou Who is awesome, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Because, like you said, he's very ostracized at the beginning of the movie. And Cindy Lou Who, by the way, also hates all the Who's. She's walking around just staring at everybody, can't not understanding what's wrong with any of them. She can't get it because the Christmas isn't about anything that they're doing. And she's like, "Oh, by the way, there's this guy that all of you just treat like dirt who's I don't know, maybe not so bad. Some bad things happen to him. Let's go check him out, you know?" Um, so yeah, I love that whole relationship and how that progresses throughout the movie, and how she really has a lot of agency in the middle and really like most of the first half, which is pretty great too.
Yeah, she definitely like propels the majority of the plot in this movie. And also just that absolute brute strength she has as a kid. That first scene we meet her, she's holding like 19 presents like in two hands. And her dad like pulls that one perfect one like out of the middle to like see her.
Yeah,
And she's
yeah,
just like it's like, damn, Cindy Lou Who hitting the gym. Have
yeah.
you speaking of Cindy Lou Who, have you seen what that girl looks like today?
No, who is she? Has she been in anything else? I didn't really look it up because
So I
I
think
didn't recognize her.
Heather had known her. I think she was on like a few episodes of Gossip Girl, but she's
Oh,
not really an actress anymore. She fronts now. She is the lead singer of a heavy metal band. And she is
really?
like, yeah, oh dude, she is the gothic princess of your dreams. She
Oh
it's
wow.
oh yeah. Yeah. She's in this like really like dope band now. And she's
Little
just like,
little
yeah.
Cindy Lou Who?
Yeah, little Cindy Lou Who now is just like a metalhead musician, and it's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so kudos to you, Cindy Lou Who. Rock on. Yeah.
Who played her dad in this movie, by the way? That seemed kind of a that guy,
Oh, I
but
have
I can't
no
tell
idea.
because of the makeup. It's like who can tell, you know?
Well, I mean, this movie has the most quintessential Ron Howard, that guy in this
Oh
movie.
yeah, Clint Howard is in
Yeah,
this.
Clint.
Yep,
Yeah, Clint Howard, baby.
Clint Howard. And then I mentioned Arrested Development, Jeffrey
Yeah,
Tambor. I
Jeffrey
mean, if
Tambor.
he's probably not that guy, he's probably that guy from Arrested Development. That's the way everybody knows him.
He's been in a bunch of stuff, but even like Martha Mayhew, like I forget what her name is, but I've seen her in a bunch of stuff. So
Yeah, yeah.
she could be like,
But
dude,
no,
her
Clint
scene.
Howard though. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, Clint Howard is great too. No, but dude, when we first meet her, and they come home and Molly Shannon's trying to like have the best Christmas display, and then Martha
Yes.
Mayhew comes outside and she's just like, "This, however, is new," and then just pulls out like a machine gun, like it just
Oh
shoots.
my god,
Like
that's my favorite part of the movie.
it's such a perfect encapsulation of them not understanding the meaning of Christmas, and like to all them
Yeah,
it's just things, 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 and she just
dude, that looked really cool too. That's that whole the way they shot the lights up there.
oh yeah, that looked really good.
It looked amazing, and
Yeah,
I think I read that the way they did it was they actually
in
pulled them
reverse.
down
Yeah, I was
and then
literally
just
just gonna.
reversed it.
Yeah, I
But
was just
yeah,
gonna say.
just such a great practical effect, and it looked awesome. It
Yeah,
looked
dude,
so real, you know.
yeah, it looked amazing. Like they pulled that one off really well. There's a lot of really good practical effects work in this movie that is just absolutely phenomenal. This must just have been like a fun movie to make. Like being on that set every day, like this one was probably a fun one to do.
Yeah, yeah, I bet. Once Jim Carrey was in his makeup anyway.
Yeah, or once he got his torture training and he knew
Yeah,
how to stay cool under pressure
yeah,
now.
yeah. So all right, so we've talked a lot about Jim Carrey, right?
Yes.
This is right around, maybe right before you could say, but right around when Jim Carrey is trying to transition into being a more serious actor.
Mhm.
What do you think he made it? Do you ever think he made it to that more serious plateau?
I think in the mid 2000s for the few ones that he did, absolutely. I think the biggest thing keeping him from it was just that everybody wanted, fun, crazy, zany Jim Carrey. Like he made himself too
Yeah.
good at it to ever be able
Like
to go
so
do other stuff. Because
his
like his dramatic movies that he made around this time, like The Truman Show, Eternal Sunshine of the
Truman
Spotless
Show is great.
Mind.
But
Yeah, like
what do you know what his next movie after The Grinch is?
is it Man on the Moon?
Nope. Man on the Moon
Oh
came
no,
out in
oh no, no, no.
99.
I know. Is it The Majestic?
It's The Majestic.
I knew it.
I've never seen that whole movie. I remember thinking it was really stupid.
That's yeah, that one was a stumble. But he managed to do a few good ones after that.
Do you remember this is much later on, but do you remember the number 23?
I do remember that because we saw it in theaters, and unfortunately,
Oh,
that's gonna
oh
be a
my god,
movie.
we're gonna do that later.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
that's
The
unfortunately
number
going to be a
23.
movie. Yeah, we're gonna have to
Yeah,
watch that.
not his best work.
Oh, definitely not. It makes you clamor for these great days of how the Grinch.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think he ever got there for me. I mean, I he was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is cool,
I
and
love that movie.
I liked the Truman Show a lot. That's about as much as I can say for it.
But I mean, like he did two. If those were the only two dramatic movies you ever did, those are two really good ones to have on the resume. Like I'd
Yeah,
be
that's
proud of
true.
those. Yeah. Like and then now you just keep doing your comedy stuff. Although now he doesn't really do much of anything, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen him in a minute.
Yeah, he hasn't really been in anything, which is why it's so great to go back and revisit these ones because watching movies like this just reminds you of just how freaking good he is in this movie because he absolutely carries every single scene that he is in this movie. He is an absolute menace in it in the best way possible. Like
Yeah.
my favorite portion of this movie,
Yeah, what's
it,
your favorite sequence? Because I was just gonna say mine, and I think we might have the same one.
it's the holiday cheermeister section.
Absolutely, yeah,
Yeah. The best
absolutely.
the best portion of this entire movie is him from the second Cindy Lou Who invites him to it to the second when he dips after destroying everything. And
Yeah,
it's
when he just completely embodies the millennial spirit when he's like deciding whether he wants to go or not. I
yeah,
feel like I do that like at least twice a month.
yeah, he's just got it, everything about it is so good. Like just from like when he shows up and he's just like, I'm here to accept an award. And the child mentioned a chick.
Yeah.
Like, no, I didn't. It's like
Yeah,
he
and she calls him out on it right away.
like
So
just
funny.
can't help himself. And
Right, right. He's gonna
yeah,
try and like bilk
yeah.
him out of money while he's down there.
And she's always there to just keep him in check.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they
The
do they
holiday
yeah,
cheermeister, amazing,
yeah.
amazing.
Like I cry every time when he's just stuck in the chair and they're just feeding him and they're just like giving him all the pudding and the one guy's like, this is not the pudding. And he just eats it and he's like, well, what is it? And he just starts spitting it everywhere. And then they're
Yeah.
giving him the fudge brownies and he's just like, "Argh," like biting at them, like trying to
Yes.
feed them.
It's so great, yeah. And he's driving that little car like after he destroys everything.
Yeah.
Um
Like
yeah,
everything he
he
does
goes
is just
nuts
so
and
over the
starts tearing Whoville apart. And he steals that little tiny car.
You
And
made the
he's
right
driving
choice.
with his knees up by his shoulders and he crashes. And then they do the slowed down action, like run away from the explosion. It's so great.
Everything about it is so just picture perfect. And that's another one that had a line in it that I was like caught me off guard again that I didn't remember is when they first bring back his moms and he's like, are you two still alive? And they bring up
Yes.
they bring the sweater and he's like, the Christmas sweater. And then you just feel them all start grabbing him and you hear him in the background just go, don't touch me there. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. The "Are you two still alive?" is really such a great line.
like, like he's just such a child and it works so it's so great like and you just see like when he's basking in it like when they're carrying him in the chair and he's just like standing on the chair like just like waving to the crowd as he's going around like he's just such he's exactly like what a kid would think something is cool and trying to be
Yeah.
yeah
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
the chair cheer you didn't tell me about the chair cheer
Yeah. And then it's a pretty great way to I mean, it's got to be over 90 minutes. You're turning this 20-minute Christmas special into a feature length movie. So it's a great setup for when this guy's going to go back down there dressed as Santa Claus and take all their stuff, you know?
Yeah, and like it's a perfect like build up to show that to continue to reinforce that the Grinch wasn't born evil. The Who's made him evil.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's such a societal commentary.
Yeah. But I think
How
the
the Grinch stole
funniest yeah,
Christmas.
the funniest thing about it too is it's not even that the Who's made him evil. It's all the mayor. Like if the mayor wasn't a dick,
Yeah,
the Grinch would have been
dude,
fine.
he might be the best part of the holiday cheermeister section when when he's like, "Oh, we should have just did what we usually do." Like he's making all these like real snide comments to the Grinch and to everybody there about how unhappy he is that this guy's getting the award. It's so funny. And then when he's going crazy, he's like, "See?"
Like I told you he'd do this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's not exactly what he says, but
Yeah,
he's
but yeah,
basically like giving them a big "I told you so." And when he
yeah.
starts going nuts, Jeffrey Tambor owns in the holiday cheermeister sequence.
Oh, yeah, no, he's so good. He's another guy that just absolutely knew the role and is having a lot of fun with it. Like when he's getting interviewed by Cindy Lou Who, like I die every time where he's like he had hair all over the place. Not nice. Like not yeah, gross. Like,
Not nice.
like he's just
Yeah.
like
And
the Grinch's
Martha May's
being just upsets him.
yeah, and Martha May's interview couldn't hide any worse the fact that she still has the hots for him.
The muscles.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god, it's so funny.
Sure. Like I forget what she says, but she says something about the Grinch, and like Cindy Lou Who's like, I didn't ask.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
like this girl
so
could
good.
not have the hots more for the Grinch. Like it's so great.
Yeah. But yeah, so he then eventually does go on to steal Christmas. And I mean, this part I didn't like as much as the original like holiday special from the 50s, cuz I don't know, like it's not that it was bad, but there's just stylistically I like the whole like song and dance of it in the old special. So that
It's
was probably the part I didn't like as much as I hoped I would, was
uh,
the really the third act of this movie.
it's funny that the more original things that they came up for with this movie tended to be the better material than when they stuck to the previous material, which is not always the case when you see adaptations. But this is
Yeah.
definitely one where you see where it's like all of the original stuff leading up to it was so much more entertaining than that portion of the movie. Because I'm the same way. That portion where he steals Christmas, it's like it's not that it's bad, but it definitely feels the most unoriginal. And obviously it is unoriginal because it's adapted, but at the same
Yeah,
time, like
yeah.
it just doesn't have the same synergy, it feels like, as the earlier scenes.
See, I would say like everything that's a strength of this movie in the first half is what makes the stealing Christmas part, like we said, not bad, but worse than what I used to watch, you know? So it just kind of it falls flat because I can't help but compare it to like the beloved holiday special that I've watched every year of my life, you know?
Yeah. And that one is more like feels shot for shot, like from that. Cause it's like he shows up, like he gives Cindy Lou Who the milk, sends her on her way. Like it's just that one just feels like it's just going through the notes to get through the scene as opposed to coming up with its own unique flair to tell it. Because one of the only things in it that got me in that whole section, and it's really stupid, but it gets me every time, is the cat attacking him. Like I don't know, it's like, and that's just one of those things where I always talk about how like I'll laugh at anything, and that gets me every time. Like when he sucks the cat up, and he's just like, "What is it this time?" He like just opens up the vacuum, and the cat just comes flying out of it into his
Yeah,
face.
yeah.
It gets me every time, and I'm like, it's so stupid,
Yeah,
but I can't
100%.
help every time but laugh.
Yeah. The only part that did get a chuckle out of me too was when Cindy Lou Who gives him that really inspiring speech, and then she just goes upstairs and she's talking to him like he's Santa, and like saying how the Grinch could really be okay if we just like give him a chance, you know? And
Yeah.
he goes, "Nice girl, terrible judge of character," and then he steals her Christmas tree.
Yeah, when he breaks the fourth wall a lot of the times,
Yeah, that
it's
part I
really
liked.
funny. Yeah, yeah, he's and it's funny when you see some movies that manage to be ahead of its time in some senses, because I really feel like like The Grinch nailed that kind of like apathetic self-loathing that you see in a lot of self-deprecating millennials our age these days.
Yeah. I
Like
mean, and that always makes for a good protagonist in a comedy movie.
yeah,
Always.
yeah, like I
Because part of the joke is that he's pathetic, you know?
yeah, exactly, exactly. And it's because I die every time when he comes back to his lair for the first time, and he's just like, "Better check my messages." And he's like, "You have no outgoing calls." And he's like, "Better check." He's like, "Better check the outgoing." It's like, if you lay even one hand on it.
Yeah, yes, yeah. And then when he like he's such an unbelievable loser that he even loses an argument with the echo of himself off of the caves in his house.
Like he's just this like pathetic shamble of a guy, and I feel like so many people in our generation like relate to that guy. Like when he's sitting there trying to come up with a plan, and he's like 6 p.m. dinner with me. I can't cancel that again. Like
Yes.
he's like
Dude,
7 p.m. wrestle with my own
wow.
self-loathing. Like
Wow. He just described I literally say that first one at least once a week where I'm like, "No, I like really need to like make dinner tonight." Like
the self-loathing one gets me all the time because how many times I sit there just like wrestle with my own self-loathing.
yeah, yeah.
The amount
I
of times
can't
a day you'll sit
cancel
there
that
and
one
be like,
again.
I hate myself. I love myself. I hate
Yeah.
myself. Like
And
it's
then
so
he's like,
good.
"I could push the loathing till 9." He's like so logical about it. It's hysterical.
It's just like 11 p.m. stare into the black abyss. Yeah,
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
it's an absolute just fun family movie. Like it's one of those movies that It's another one we talk about when we get to some of these movies where it's tough to level some critiques at them because at the end of the day, it's just supposed to be like a dumb, fun family movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I think
Like you said though, with a little bit of an edge, which is
yeah,
again, I think what makes it so appealing, like
yeah.
broadly appealing.
And this movie does definitely have a that perfect amount of edge that you want, where it's not too much to
Where
love. Go on.
no, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say that it perfectly toes the line. It does the right amount of edge where it's not like too much over the top where now you just feel like, oh yeah, they're just throwing the message at me of like, yeah, consumerism is bad. I get it. But
Yeah,
also
yeah. It's
manages,
entertaining for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Right.
It
It's
it
not it
it
doesn't ever feel like a slog.
yeah, it never feels like it's like talking down to you about whatever, like it's poking fun at.
Totally.
Yeah.
So where does this fall on the Ron Howard pantheon for you? Where is this in his filmography for
Ooh,
you?
that's a
Like
good
what is there any like Ron Howard movies you put way ahead of this?
That's a good question. I would probably sandwich this one like in the middle, but like towards like the top of the like if there's the bad ones, there's the good ones, and then there's the great ones. Like I would put this at like number one of the good.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
No?
It's like so it's in that second tier, but it's on the verge.
Yeah, because like
What are some of
obviously
the first tier Ron Howard movies for you?
the first ones that come off to my mind obviously is Apollo 13.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh
totally.
Absolutely fantastic. I love Parenthood is another one that's
Is
absolutely
that's the
fantastic.
Steve Martin movie, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I've seen
yeah.
that movie. That
Yeah, I
movie's really funny.
love that movie. Love that movie. And I feel like there's another one in there that I can't remember of his
Dude,
that
there is
really
I
like.
have you at a
Wait,
disadvantage here because I'm
because you're
looking at
looking up his
his
filmography right
list.
now. You son of, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Ron Howard made Backdraft, right?
Yes, that's
Yeah,
exactly what I
yeah,
was about to say. Yes, I
yeah.
was about to say Backdraft.
Backdraft is up there also.
What an incredible movie for Ron Howard to have
Yeah,
directed.
yeah.
Freaking Backdraft.
Backdraft is up there too. And then like at the
He
lower
also
end,
there's also some ones you might not think of off the top of your head that Ron
right.
Howard did. A Beautiful Mind's a Ron Howard movie.
Oh, that's right. He did do that one. I would put that one
Yeah,
in the good though. Like I like that movie, but I'm not like enamored with it.
that's up there. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's pretty good, but I don't know if I would say it's like my top Ron Howard movie. He made a Cinderella Man.
Oh, yeah, all right. That's in the great. I love that movie.
Yeah,
We're gonna get to that movie.
I'll give you the top of my bad tier. Ready?
Oh, is it Far and Away?
Nope.
Oh,
Wait, is Far and Away the Tom Cruise one where he's like a railroad worker?
yeah. Or he's like the
Oh
Irish.
my god, yeah. I haven't seen that movie in a minute.
Yeah, that's a
That
clunker.
was that movie bad? I think I kind of liked it when I watched it.
So I haven't watched it probably since we were in high school, so I would have to give it a rewatch to really say for myself. But I remember it. I remember not hating it, but I also remember at the same time being like, "This is also not great."
The only part I remember about it is when they send a Chinese guy into a tunnel with some dynamite and he
Eh,
ends up blowing himself up and it's kind of just everybody's like, no big deal. That's like the only thing I remember about that movie. So I mean if that's the only memorable part, it's probably not the best movie, I guess.
remember, isn't he like? Doesn't he do like boxing, like bare knuckle boxing in it?
Yeah, maybe. You could be right. But anyway, it's not the top of my bad.
Not
The
great.
top of my bad is
The
another
Dude.
Mel Gibson vehicle, Ransom.
Oh yeah, he did that movie. Yeah, that movie not so great.
Yeah, definitely pretty bad.
Yeah. My God. There's also the Da Vinci Code movies. He did
Yeah.
those.
And yeah, these are all kind of the contemporaries of the Grinch. These are all like sort of within that same range, the ones we've
What
been
was
mentioning.
so all right, so since you got up his filmography, give me this one. What was the movie he made before The Grinch and what was the movie he made after The Grinch?
Okay, so I'll start with After the Grinch because we already said it. A Beautiful Mind is the movie directly after the
Wow. And
Grinch.
didn't I think he won Best Director for that, right? Or did that movie just win Best Picture?
I don't know, but if your movie wins Best Picture, I just think you were the best director, so it's
You
fine.
were the win. Yeah, I
Either
know
way,
the
he did a great job.
yeah, either way he was
um, and then the movie directly before much more forgettable and much less Oscar-worthy movie, Ed TV.
Oh, Ed
Do you remember Ed
TV.
TV?
Yeah, with Woody Harrelson and McConaughey, right?
Yeah, also a movie kind of ahead of its time now that you mention it,
Yeah,
because
yeah, definitely. The like
it's all
reality.
about like a reality star, right? Before
Yeah,
that was even really a thing. Like
yeah.
back then that was a movie you made and people were like, "Wow, imagine if that happened."
And now that's sometimes
And
some
then it's
people's
like
whole personalities.
yeah, and then it just happened for like 2 decades straight.
Yeah, yeah, that is wow. That one's a blast from the past. Yes, he's a fun director. He never does the same genre or movie twice. Like he's always looking to broaden those horizons. So I got to give Ron Howard props because he's always varying what he's working on.
Yeah, totally. But no, I thought I know he's one with like a pretty wide filmography, like you were saying. So I thought it would be a good one to get into.
Yeah, no, yeah. So I would definitely put the Grinch like right in the middle of the pack of his
Okay.
movies. Then, like I think I like it's a fun movie. It's not so much because of his direction though. So which is why I think I would put it in the middle for his movies because this is very much just
Yeah.
like it's turn the camera on, let Jim Carrey go wild, like he said.
Okay, ready?
Okay.
Do you have The Grinch above Rush?
Oh, dude, that's right. He made Rush. Rush was a great movie.
You sure
No,
did.
I know. I think I would have Rush above it. I'd have to rewatch Rush again because I haven't seen Rush probably since we saw it in theaters.
Yeah. Okay,
I
so
would have to see Rush again.
I've seen Rush again, still real good.
Of
But so
course,
you
you
should
can't go
definitely
wrong with
watch it again.
a racing movie.
So I was pretty sure that one would be a yes. I'm gonna give you one more, and then
All
we
right,
can move on from this.
all
One
right, give me
more
one
that
more.
I'm pretty sure you're gonna say is a no.
Oh boy.
Do you have? Well, I guess maybe a yes, though, depending on how I phrase the question. Do you have the Grinch above In the Heart of the Sea?
Yes, absolutely. Never,
Right? That movie stinks so bad,
never has a movie misled me so hard than
dude.
that movie.
I barely even want to talk about it because I'm still angry, coming up on 10 years later about this.
Yeah, dude, it's been almost a decade since that came out, and I
Why don't you
yeah.
fill people in?
the
Let me actually let me set the stage a
uh,
little bit, and then yeah, we'll go
okay,
from
okay,
there.
okay, okay, okay.
So this movie In the Heart of the Sea is coming out, and Chris Hemsworth is a burgeoning star at the time that this movie is coming out. He's on the up and come, you know.
Also, he's one
And
of
in the
our favorite stars at this moment
right,
too. Like
right, yes,
we're on
absolutely.
the Hemsworth train.
Right. I mean, this is probably after he was like great in that vacation reboot they did,
All
or I
right,
guess like
all right.
requel. I don't remember. The vacation might have been after this, but anyway, I don't
I
want to
was
get
gonna
too off topic here.
right, yeah.
So Chris Hemsworth is like starring in this movie, and it's about Moby Dick, sort of. It's about the event that Moby Dick is based on. So they're being hunted by a whale, basically, is what's happening in this movie. And when things are at their darkest in the trailer of this movie, someone says triumphantly and defiantly at Chris Hemsworth, "Say it! Say you're scared!" And in the trailer, Chris Hemsworth utters the words, let me hear him,
I will not.
"I will not." And it was the most amazing trailer I had ever seen, ever, ever. I was so down. I was so in for this movie. I was excited. I waited months.
We
You know
were
what
at a
happens?
fever
You know what
pitch for
happens
that.
in the movie when they ask Chris Hemsworth to say it? Say you're scared? Nothing happens. He doesn't say anything.
Right?
It's
And
horrible.
don't they use that line? It happens in like the first like 5 minutes of the movie too. I think
Yeah, it's from
his wife is like, promise me you'll come back. And
no,
he's like, all
no,
right.
it's not even it's so much lamer than that, dude.
The fact that
I'm
you
pretty
remember.
sure there's a conversation early on in the movie when the guy who runs the whaling company is telling Chris Hemsworth that he's not going to be the captain and like who is going to be the captain, and he asks Chris Hemsworth something, and Chris Hemsworth's just like, "I will not go do that," you know, or like he says something so mundane. I don't know, I don't remember exactly what it was. That's how mundane it was. And they just took the "I will not" from the beginning of that, and I guess just like made it sound cooler. Oh man, such a bummer. So
Yeah.
yes, I do put the Grinch above In the Heart of the Sea as well. I agree.
Yeah, no, I would put The Grinch above In the Heart of the Sea any day of the week. I think this is a fun family movie. It's another one that I will continue to watch. I'm going to ask you now, Jim, is it going, now that you've seen it as an adult, will it be added to the Christmas rotation?
Yeah, I don't know, probably. But the Christmas rotation isn't as sacred as it used to be for me. Um, so I don't know, it's 50-50. I'd say there's like a decent chance I'll watch it again next year.
Yeah, I'll take that. That's a win right there.
It's also the kind of movie I might watch, like in July because it's just a good movie.
That is fair. That is fair. This is a movie you can go to at any point, really. I saw they just were re-releasing it in theaters too, for people to go see if they wanted to.
Yeah, I saw that it was playing around here for like one day. I don't know if it was a very limited run, but yeah.
Yeah, I hate that they do those like really tight limited runs. Like at least give us a weekend. Give me a chance to go see it.
Yeah, and then
They'll
it
be like
wasn't really
they're like,
marketed well.
yeah, they
I
barely
would have
market it.
went to go in to see it in theaters if I knew it was coming out because
Yeah,
strictly because we were doing this.
exactly. Yeah. And they'll be like, we're doing one show. It's on Wednesday at like 6 p.m. It's like, oh cool, thanks, dude.
Yeah, right. And I probably would have went still, but I didn't know about it until it was too late.
Yeah, they're not very helpful when it comes to that. But all right, Jim, do you have any other thoughts to add for Dr. Seuss How the Grinch Stole Christmas?
I don't know. I think we covered it, man. I think
I
we
think we
covered
did.
it.
Did you see the animated Grinch movie that they made from like a few years ago? I think it was like
Yeah, the Benedict Cumberbatch one.
yeah. Did you see that one?
Yeah,
What did you
not
think?
in theaters, but yes, I've seen it.
You did see that one? Did you have a lot of nephews that made you watch it?
No, I watched it with a girl I was dating at the time.
Ah, very nice, very nice. This was one of the few the 2018 Grinch is one of the few movies that I've ever walked out of seeing in theaters.
Really?
Yeah, I just couldn't do it. I
Wow.
did not.
I
I
kind of
was
liked
not.
it. I thought it was a good movie.
It might have just been in the like for whatever day I was seeing it. I maybe wasn't in the right frame of mind to make it through a movie because for whatever reason, at like the 45-minute mark, I like checked my phone and was like, I still got like another hour. Like I just couldn't do it, and we left.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of liked it, but it's another one I don't remember too much about it if I'm being totally honest.
That's fair. And why remember it when we have the great Jim Carrey vehicle to return to instead? It's like when they
Yeah.
remake all the live action Disney movies. It's like, why when I
Yeah,
could
I
watch the
I
original?
think that's about right. I'll probably watch this one again before I watch the Benedict Cumberbatch one again.
Exactly. Just you're just getting more out of it. But all right, we turn our attention now, as always, to that amazing list that Jim
Oh
is
boy. Oh
so
boy.
worried about. And it is time to give our star ratings for this movie. All right, Jim, let's have it. Let's hear it. The final rating for How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
So I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. That's my pick. I think it's good. It's I'd say it's a good movie. It's a good movie. I don't want to give it too high of a score though, so 3 out of 5. And then I'm very interested to see what you give it and how it puts it way too high up on this list.
I
I
know
can't wait.
I can feel you itching for it already because I think you know where I'm going with mine.
I don't
And
necessarily know, but I think it's going to be higher than mine, and it's going to
that's
put the total score higher than where I would like it to be.
I am gonna go higher than you. I am. I am going to give this movie 4 stars for me. This
Okay.
is and again, it could be that that extra star for me can could be jotted down to nostalgia that I have. Like a much more warm feeling when I watch this movie. Because not only am I really enjoying it and loving the movie for everything the movie does, but it reminds you of those great feelings of yesteryear watching these movies. But at the same time, I just think this is a great family movie. Like Jim
Yeah.
Carrey carries this movie. It's a lot of fun. It is a movie that doesn't outstay its welcome and also feels like the jokes are ones that lend itself to reviewing. A lot of the times with like comedy movies, you get sometimes the jokes land well the first time, but then upon rewatch, when you already know the punchline, it's not as great the second time around.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
one of
So
those.
it has staying power for
Yeah,
you.
it's got that rewatchability factor to it, and that's always a huge thing for me when it comes to those high ratings that I give for movies. So for me, I'm going to go with 4 stars on this bad boy.
All right.
So
So that takes us, if my math is correct, that takes us to 7.
that does take us to 7. So
And the real question is, where does that put this on the list?
so How the Grinch Stole Christmas is now going to settle in at number 4, right behind The Lost World with 7.5, and just ahead of Star Wars Episode 1 with 6.
All right. And there's still a little wiggle room between those two. I feel pretty good about that, actually.
You're right with that. That one
Yeah,
hasn't
I think the list survives another week. I think the list is doing okay.
hasn't broken you yet.
Yeah, not well. I'm not gonna break. The list is gonna break. But yeah, it hasn't happened yet.
I was waiting to see how you would take it overtaking Star Wars Episode 1, but you seem like you're in good spirits here. So, well,
Yeah,
that's a
no,
win
I
right
think that's
there.
okay because it's it's probably still gonna lose to the Clone Wars. At least I hope. Definitely gonna lose to Revenge of the Sith. I hope.
Well, I guess
But yeah, I
everyone.
would say above Phantom Menace is about right. Yeah.
All right,
And
yeah.
then
So,
remind me, what's the top 3 right now?
so the top 3, obviously, and so in third place we've got The Lost World with 7.5. Right ahead of that, in second place, is Gladiator with 9.5.
Oh
And
wow. Okay.
our only perfect movie sits in number 1 with Titanic.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I mean that. Yeah. So I feel really good about that top 5. I feel really good about it.
I think for right now, with the movies that we've gone through, that is a solid top 5 to have right there.
No, I just mean top 5 of all movies.
Us.
No, I'm just messing with you. Of the ones we've done so far, I feel like we're in good shape.
You had me, you bastard. But yeah, so it lives to fight another day for Jim. But Jim, do you want to set up for everybody? We're about to do, for the people who've been keeping track at home, this episode was the 9th episode. So we're about to hit double digits for the first time, about to hit that illustrious number 10 number. And we came up with a little bit of a fun twist that we wanted to do here when we hit our number 10 or number 20 and so on and so forth. So, Jim, why don't you explain to our lovely listeners at home just this wonderful idea that we've got in store for them?
Yeah, so I mean, we're picking movies based upon what you've seen in theaters, right? And we're going in chronological order. And the problem is, you can't see every movie. It's not possible. You just can't. So, what we're going to do every 10th episode is I'm going to pick a movie that I saw in theaters that you missed in the time frame between the last bunch of episodes we just went over. So, in this case, I'm picking for a movie that came out between Jurassic Park and what did we just do?
The Grinch.
How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Between those two movies, that he hasn't seen, or at least didn't see when it came out in theaters. I think
Yeah,
is the rule.
is the rule there.
Um,
Yeah. So you got a good window right there, 1997 through 2000.
yeah, and I really struggled with this. I'm not gonna lie. I had a really early front runner, and I was kicking around movies like Face Off or Gone in 60 Seconds.
You're really diving
Just
into the action.
yeah, just absolute classic movies. There's just no other way to put it. But
Yeah.
I really had to go to one that specifically I remember seeing in theaters and really is one of my favorite kind of like kitschy almost B movie. I stuck with the early frontrunner, Armageddon.
Oh man. That's a good pick. That's a good pick right there.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it. I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, I don't know how I missed that one when it came out. That one would have been right up Big Rob, mine, and Zach's alley to go see one of the quintessential disaster movies of the 90s.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so no, I'm really excited for it, and I'm really excited to see where it ends up on the list.
Yes. Will Jim's pick be the movie that finally undoes the list?
Oh
A lot
my
of
god.
A lot
Oh
of
my
pressure
god, I
on
didn't
you.
even
Jim.
think of
You didn't
that.
even think about that, did
I
you?
didn't even think of that. I might destroy the list. Like my choice. Oh no.
Jim's gonna destroy the list.
Oh
Look at
my
what you've
god.
done, Jim. So it looks like you're gonna
Well,
have to.
no, yeah,
What?
I think
What?
Armageddon's gonna be fine. I think
Yeah,
Armageddon's gonna
it's
be
gonna be all
fine.
right. I think it's gonna
Yeah.
be all right too. But I did want to put that idea in your head so that you simmer with that for the
Yeah,
next.
no, yep. I'm gonna be thinking about it all week. Thank you.
You're welcome. But that's it for all you listeners at home. Make sure to tune in next week where we dive into Jim's movie Armageddon and we see how well it fares on this illustrious list. But as always, that'll do it for all of us here at Front Row Cinema. Until next time, we'll see you at the movies.